This video highlights the Burns Institute's approach and services as demonstrated in 3 sites: Tucson, Arizona, St. Paul, Minnesota, and Santa Cruz, California. The most intensive engagement the Burns Institute offers involves guiding a collaboration of stakeholders through the Burns Institute approach each month for approximately 2 years. The collaboration minimally contains stakeholders that include judges, probation staff, prosecutors, indigent defenders, community members, parents, and law enforcement. A core value of the Burns Institute model is to involve communities with high juvenile detention rates in the collaboration. Parents and community members bring a unique perspective that stakeholders don't always have, which can be very instrumental in interpreting data and working to create alternatives to detention.
So what we're able to do is come in and we frame the discussion, which previously they had been uncomfortable to have, about why even when you've reduced your detention population, you have all these Black or Latino kids still locked up, right? And part of that framing is begin to look at data and make people comfortable.
Some people think that the role of the system should be to punish youth. Others think that they're there to help them. Some think that they're there to protect them from their own communities or their own families. And so Burns wants to have an open dialogue with those stakeholders, to lay that all out on the table, and then to come to some type of consensus around how do we want our system to function.
And very often what we see within the Burns Institute work is that there are really good people inside these jurisdictions who want to figure out institutionally how to change things that are happening as far as disproportionality, want to see more community-focused, community-based alternatives being utilized, but aren't really exactly sure who to make those relationships with from the community.
We need folks from the court involved to talk about what the juvenile justice process involves. But I think we also need folks from the community to help us identify.
Really, for the collaboration to really achieve success, you have to be able to share power. The community members who are a part of this collaborative, they see that there's a role for themselves. And they're engaged, they're pushing.
This is an opportunity for us to sit at the same table and to discuss what those concerns are, what the challenge is, what the goal is, and how we can collaborate together as community members, agencies, and so forth.
The Burns Institute approach places so much emphasis on the collaborative because the collaborative affords the best chance for successfully reducing disparities, reducing finger-pointing and blame, while providing opportunities for comprehensive, collaborative-wide responses to policies and practices that contribute to disparities.
A lot of times, systems people and police officers, the mindset is very similar. We're trained to think that we are the authorities and the professionals and the experts, and so we know what to do, and community people don't know what to do. We as community members can do a far better job in many cases with a young wayward youth and get him on track.
People are afraid to talk about race. And so part of what our job is to get race on the table and get people to talk about race in a way that doesn't make people defensive.
We're so afraid, and that has to do with African American young men. And maybe we're afraid of saying the wrong thing. We gotta let go of that.
The Tucson Police Department is very proud of the fact that we have the courage to engage in this type of process. It's not been an easy process up to this point because when you start talking about DMC, police officers traditionally go to "you're calling us racist." And that has been a very difficult issue to have to deal with.
We need to take personal responsibility as individual police officers and as an agency if there's something that needs to be addressed. Here we have this thought that perhaps DMC is really going on in our community. We look at the statistics, we look at them honestly, and we say, you know what, there is disproportionate minority contact. Now, let's gather more statistics to try to refine and determine exactly what's going on. And then let's start talking about how we can deal with that.
But we've got to address the family issues. They pointed out that we needed to be better with gathering statistics and not just gather anything, gather something that's going to be related to what we want to do. And what we want to do is look at the juvenile process and say, is it something the process is doing that should do different? And then get to the disproportionate minority confinement issue.
Our Latino population, though, was like a roller coaster this year. It started off in January with an average of 11.
Once the collaborative has been assembled, the Burns Institute approach requires gathering data to quickly identify where disparities occur in the system. We have developed a set of data queries that we use to assist jurisdictions disaggregate data by race, ethnicity, gender, geography, and offense.
With the various partners that we work with, it's almost like multiple worlds. And so the data creates the formula that allows you to really create relevant programming so that there is an impact, there is a result.
Data keeps you focused on the work. It helps you either confirm hunches you have about your system or debunk the myths about your system, because a lot of what happens in the justice system is based on storytelling, and data helps you keep it real. The other thing that data does is it sort of gets around the defensiveness that some people have.
Not politically correct, but have.
I mean, let's face it, talking about race is a hard conversation for people to have, so it helps for objectivity.
We're talking about a medium scoring kid that we kept that scores a 9 or a 7. In the very beginning, when we just collected the data, now that we're digging deeper, we're looking at those other levels. There's a sense of ownership and really understanding it and understanding why things are happening rather than just doing the work.
I think one of the other things about using data is that sometimes it can be really overwhelming. And so there's a tendency to just want to collect all the data that you can without really having intentional questions about how that's going to help you reduce disproportionality. So what we try to do is help them identify what questions they want to answer and how that might drive their reform efforts.
Now we need to look at what are the reasons that's happening. So they've been great as far as support, saying, oh, this is what we need to collect and this is why. Or I can just say, hey, here's all my numbers. I don't know what to do with this. What is this telling me? And they go, oh, this is what it's showing you. Let's make this graph. Let's do this design.
This data analysis often reveals that there are youth of color confined in detention that should be supervised in the community without jeopardizing public safety. Research and evidence-based practices have shown that keeping low and moderate offending youth out of detention greatly improves their life outcomes and reduces the chance of further contact with the juvenile justice system.